What's going on, people? Today I gotta talk to you about probably the biggest update that Guns of Glory needs and seems to be in the works as we speak. It's probably one of the hottest topics right now, and that, of course, is migration. Now, when I first started playing the game, I'm pretty familiar with how most of these games work. Depending on when you start in a kingdom. That kingdom, especially if you're newer, is usually protected. That way it gives you some time to grow your account, etc. But I was actually a little bit confused as to why this game didn't have migration. Now, of course, if you go to any kingdom, right? Let's say you're new and you go to this kingdom and you go here, and there's this thing that's called Join Kingdom, which you would think would be migration, and it technically is, but when you click on it, only a stage registered in the last 5 days with a castle level of less than 6 can actually migrate. Now you might be thinking, well, why do they do that? It's because, let's say you start a new account and you're in, I don't know, Kingdom 700, and maybe you join to play with somebody specifically. That gives you the choice of making an account and moving your account over to, like, I don't know, a Kingdom 300, whatever it may be. That way you can play with your friend. Now, why would they restrict it past level 6? That's really where the issue would be, because with games like this, especially when the games like this are more for like the competitive side, being quote-unquote stuck in a kingdom can be rough and honestly can be detrimental to the game overall. I'll give you a perfect example, right? Let's say I'm in Kingdom 703. I start playing and you get to know the people in that kingdom, etc. But as you guys know, a lot of people don't play the game as long as maybe you, or as long as you would like, etc. So what if the closest people that you started playing with is 703, a couple of months later, they're not playing as much, or they just downright quit? Then what do? The only options for you is to see what other guilds are there that you can join and join them. But what if you don't like the people there? Then you're just stuck. And with no options of migration, etc., what do you think people are going to do? When you play a game like this, let's be completely honest. Regardless of how good a game can be, especially a game like this, if you're not playing the game with the right people or people that you enjoy playing with, the fun is going to be gone. The fun is going to be sucked out of you. And what do you think comes next? Of course, that's right. You're going to quit. You're going to quit because you don't feel the need to log in anymore. You don't feel the need to log in and help the people that you don't enjoy playing with. And overall, you're probably not going to enjoy the game nearly as much. So, what does migration do for the game specifically, right? Now, with migration, there's a couple of things, and honestly, both the players and the game would benefit greatly from this. First and foremost, if you're looking at it from a company's perspective, right? There is a sell upside to this. If you make migrations cost something, maybe a pass or X amount of passes, etc., and you can sell a pack. I mean, let's be honest here. Companies are in these games to make money. I mean, they didn't just make it just so we can have fun and that's it. They're here to make a profit and to make money. So what's the easiest way to do that? Make migration cost a certain amount. There's one of the biggest upsides already for the company, and incentive, if you will. What about the players? Because honestly, the players is the most important thing, because without the players, there is no revenue, there is no game. Now, from a perspective of like a competitive guild, if you're in a kingdom that is just your guild and then that's it, a lot of people will get bored by it. There's no one to attack, etc. I've seen it firsthand where guilds would literally migrate. Their whole guild will migrate to new kingdoms looking for a challenge, looking for a fight. And not only that, it causes more wars, which what does that mean for the company, for instance? It means more killed troops, meaning more packs being bought to rebuild, more resources used. You get the picture, right? So migration, as long as you do it right to where it doesn't cost like such an amount that you can't move a whole guild and it's maybe just like a player, but you can also find a middle ground to where it'll cost you something, but it's also something that's nothing too crazy. And if you can find the best middle ground to do it, you can certainly, the company can make profit, and the players will look to migrate more often, looking for challenges, etc. And this is how rivalries are born. This is how friendships are made, because you go to a new kingdom, you meet new people, maybe at some point you start playing with that said person, etc. So migration, this game stands to gain so much for migration, and there's really a simple way of doing this, right? So if I'm gonna be looking at this kingdom, and let's say I'm like, if I migrate in, I would be the highest might in this kingdom. It would make sense for the highest might that wants to move in to pay a certain amount of scroll. So let's say you would be rank 1, then your cost would be higher than somebody that would be like rank 100, for instance, right? So, and the cost could be proportionate to where you would be ranked in that kingdom, right? So if you're trying to move your whole guild and you have like 3 big guys and then everybody else is not that big, those 3 big guys are usually the ones that will be paying the majority of the cost, just because they're the ones that have the biggest might. They're going to be the biggest players moving in. And then for the smaller guys, you can have a much less cost. That way they can afford it as well, because let's be honest, the bigger the guy is, the deeper pockets they probably have. So you can make that distinction, and that's how you can have guilds actually move over. Now there is also the possibility of doing a joint migration. What I mean by joint migration, like if you want to move your whole guild, then maybe you can set a specific price for the whole guild to be able to move, and maybe that's something that the big guys would be able to cover mostly, and then the little guys chip in, etc., etc. Does that make sense? So like if you want, say you want to move to kingdom, whatever kingdom this is, right? And the game will calculate a price for your whole guild to be able to move. Maybe it'll be like you need X amount of passes for everybody to be able to move, and people can donate passes as they get them. That way the bigger guys can cover most of the costs, etc. And maybe you can have a cap of how many passes they can donate, and then once you reach the amount that you need, then at that point the game will allow everybody to move over as they want. Just something that I can throw out there, but let me tell you, migration would be the best thing that this game can ever come up with, because it's going to open up the game to a whole different level of play. And not only that, you don't have to sit around and just wait for KVK to see some action from other kingdoms, as well as also being matched up against the same kingdoms over and over, because I know I've heard that that was an issue for some kingdoms. This would be the easiest and best way to open up a game like this, because it's all about guilds, friends, and competition. That's what this game is really about, right? So with migration, if you get it right, as far as the cost and everything that can move over, you'll be golden. So I really hope that in the future here, in the near future, migration will be sorted out, and then everything will come with it, because this is all this game needs. I was shocked when I was playing for like a couple of weeks, and I took a look and there was no migration option. A lot of people were saying, oh, I'm gonna quit this kingdom, make a new account, and start all over. I was like, well, why would you do that? You already have an account here. Why would you want to start all over? They had no choice. They couldn't move the account. So that's the really unfortunate part. Obviously for newer kingdoms, they would still be in a state of protection, like let's say like this. So if the newer the kingdom, the longer their protection period would be, because you don't, the one thing you don't want with migration is messing up newer kingdoms, because if you're the strongest guy, you port into a newer kingdom, destroy it, and then leave, what good does that do? So obviously if it's a newer kingdom, maybe you can have it on the protection for the first 5 or 6 months before anybody can migrate in, just to kind of solve that issue of just having somebody go to a completely new kingdom and just ruining it. But definitely something to think about, and hopefully in the future this gets completely sorted. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. Hopefully migration and all that will be out here soon, in the grand scheme of things. And yeah, I've been reading over your comments. Appreciate you guys for coming through, and until later.